All right, everybody. I know I'm a little late. Only by a day for this one. And I always talk about consistency, and I wasn't consistent, but not an excuse, but a reason. I have a valid reason. My little office area is also part of my living room, and I have it broken off by this divider. And my the bit larger part of my living room, I had family staying there, and they were watching my big TV, which makes a lot of noise, and would I just didn't want any background noise from what they were watching and how loud they had the TV to be picked up on the pod when I was recording. So again, my apologies about that. But yeah, so I'm gonna get right into it. So I don't know if anybody saw, I did my first reaction video with Pokemon Presents. I was kind of it was kind of mid. It wasn't really exciting to me. I implore you to watch it. Please give the views. Share with your friends if you can. Anything helps. But I watched it. There was some cool news. The Pokemon Champions thing with the phone and the console being able to cross over, but they kind of already did that with Pokemon Unite. In terms of their new large mainstream game, the Pokemon ZA, that is clearly picking off of the gameplay of Pokemon Arceus. I wasn't super excited by it. The visuals do play a part in why I wasn't excited, because it just gave me Scarlet and Violet vibes, just in a more contained area, which is Lumio City. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lumio City. Um, it is a place that was in Pokemon X and Y. It was like one of the big main areas. I think you fought I forgot the name of the group that was the Team Rocket group of that game. You fought them in that area um, for the big battle. I forget the name of the group though, because I remember I had Pokemon X and I wanted that Mega Charizard X, which is probably one of the big things that did excite me with the Pokemon Presents, and I talk about that in the video. So if you want full details, you want my full reaction, I don't want to go too in depth because I have a whole video on it. I'm gonna have my reaction video linked in the description. It should also pop up at the end of this video, and I'll also have the original video if you just want to go and watch the Pokemon Presents yourself. I'll have that there. Um, in gaming news, as you guys know, and I've been talking about it, I've been super addicted to the Marvel Rivals game. It looks like there was a very interesting video with about Marvel Rivals matchmaking. The video had the head of the NetEase, the Chinese-based company's matchmaking, and there was a lot of loosely there was a very heavy accent, and some things had to be translated and what she was saying. A lot of tech stuff. I had brought in a friend to actually explain a lot of it to me, but it seems that how matchmaking is kind of skewed based on how well you're doing. They kind of skew it to try and keep you on the game and make sure you don't get off, and also to like kind of like make sure that there are games that you lose. It's a very interesting video. But the only thing I didn't like about the video, I'm gonna link it in the description. It was from Marvel Minute Masters. The only thing I didn't like about the video is the guy who is narrating or talking about it seems to have an agenda. And it was really more like a complaint video based on what she's talking about. And he was like emphasizing and inflecting on words that to try and drag out how the game is unfair and unbalanced. But to TLDR, too long, didn't read it. Basically, they look at four categories according to the head of matchmaking. To measure a player's habits, right? They look at the role people main and queue. They see what other heroes that players play, that complement that character's role, right? Um, and then they have like a whole breakdown in a chart of they look at how well a player is doing, the player I think the biggest thing was player satisfaction that I took away from the whole thing, and how satisfied a person is when they're playing, and they use kind of like a win-loss ratio to determine that. And if you're winning too much, they kind of put you in teams against teams that will steamroll you, because you might be playing a 4-man comp, 5-man comp. But You could tell, like my friend pointed out, that this video was really for investors. It wasn't for like the actual players to be looking at. And it, because one, NetEase is a Chinese based company, and she was probably talking to the people that are funding and backing the game and explaining how they keep players retention rate high in the game to make sure that they buy skins, make sure that they buy emotes, etc., so that they can continue to earn revenue. Because like anything else, any business that you'll learn, they need to be able to make money. So they speak about that, and it's very interesting, right? On the point of giving players advantages who seem to be fatigued or tired in the game, right? And what they talked about fatigue or tired is if they've been playing through a long time in the game and they continue to lose. And she did go on to confirm that there is bot matchmaking for people who continue to lose. It's a very interesting video. It's extremely long. I'm gonna link it in the description. You can check it out. But you know, it got me thinking, and me and my friend talked about this. Do people really want a balanced game, right? Because what happens if the game is too balanced, right? Everything becomes same, right? Samey. And when everything is samey, is it really fun, right? Think of some of the most balanced games you played. How long did you play those games? How long did you stay in it, right? People, I feel like humans in general want something to complain about, right? So they need to look at, so there needs to be something skewed against their favor, or you know, they want. And again, I'm not talking about real. This is not a socio-political commentary I'm making. I'm talking about in games or hobbies. I'm not talking about political climate or opportunities in the world, because all opportunities should be equal. I'm not talking about that. I'm strictly talking about this. I don't want anybody taking what I'm saying out of context. In the context of video games, right? Think about some of the most fair games that you've played and how you've kind of walked away and went away from them because of how samey, or I feel like there needs to be and I'm not saying games need to be super unbalanced to be fun, because they don't, right? But what happens is that if you make a game too balanced, you characters that you like or love to play, they begin to lose their what makes them special, right? The individual characteristics that stand out to you as a player that make you want to play them, right? And the other thing too that I take away that I had from watching the video and from speaking to my friend is, you know, for example, Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is hailed as one of the greatest Call of Duties, right? People that played it in the past, back in those days, the memories. But as it went on, they've of course tried to make things more fun, more balanced. And I'm not saying that the player count has dropped, because clearly there's a lot of players. It makes a lot of money, with the amount of people that buy. But a lot of people have went away from the game because they don't find it fun anymore, especially people from back that used to play during the Modern Warfare 2 days. Even though the game was unbalanced, they would rather go back to the Modern Warfare 2 gameplay versus the newer gameplay, right? Or I use Dark Souls as an example. Dark Souls is extremely difficult, and it is unfair, and it is punishing, and it's punishing to make you a better player, right? I I look at those games and how successful and how well they do, right? And using Call of Duty as an example of a game that, people have moved away from because it became too balanced or too campy, trying to make everything the same, right? Another thing is Marvel 2 to Marvel 1, right? Or even Marvel 3 to Marvel Infinite. Those games in general are broken, right? But more people will rather play Marvel 2. Marvel 2 is the one that most people know. Like, I think there was even an article where Chadwick Boseman, I think that's his name. No, not Chadwick Boseman. Michael B. Jordan went on to talk about how he loved Marvel 2. Like, it's more renowned, and people love to play that game more, even though it is extremely unbalanced, because at the highest levels of play, depending on the teams that you run, there's really only like maybe 5 or 6 characters. So I don't know. It's a good discussion or topic to have. Like, the idea of, should a game be overly tuned and balanced? Because what's another game that I think about? Mortal Kombat. I feel like NetherRealm always releases patches after patches. I feel like they patch their game so much to try to make things balanced that the game wind up over time. It starts to fall off, right? Because people can't figure things out, right? But then it comes to a point where if a game is too unbalanced, nobody wants to play because it's like, why? Right? Because it's not fun. You only have a limited amount of characters. Like, even for Marvel 2's greatness, that does turn away some people because really, like, what are you gonna play? Magneto, Storm, Sentinel, Cable, Iron Man. Um, you know what I mean? Like a very few characters that you could play at the highest of levels. So just a good conversation. Why don't you leave comments? I would love to see what the comment section on the idea of, you know, balance versus unbalanced gameplay, right? And the idea of MMR or matchmakings, right? You know, um, yeah, I'll just leave a comment. I would love to hear, comments on that and what people's viewpoints are when it comes to that. And continuing on with Marvel, it looks like continuing on with Marvel, it looks like that Spider-Man X Magic is happening. Magic seems to be crossing over with everything, and if you can see on my screen, I'll probably show a little bit of the article. It looks like Magic is now crossing over with Marvel as well. They are going to do the Marvel Magic X Spider-Man bundle. If anybody is interested, where you can now get Spider-Man cards, which I think is awesome. Marvel Magic seems to be crossing over everybody. I might pick up those cards, even though I don't play Magic. I got recently back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And recently, TCG Marketplace sent me 2 boxes of Lorcana cards. I think because of delays in shipping with some of the items that I ordered. It was, I don't know, seemed pretty nice. But yeah, you can now pre-order the Marvel Spider-Man's cards if you want from Magic. It releases on September 26th, so even if you don't pre-order, you have plenty of time. But Magic seems to be crossing over with everybody. They recently did Final Fantasy. They had the trailer for Avatar. Now they're doing Spider-Man. They're all over the place. But yeah, I'll also have a link to the article. Like I said, it was by John Bittner over on GameSpot.com. But I wanted to throw that in after talking about the Marvel Rivals matchmaking because I found it interesting that Magic seems to be. I wonder what they're trying to do. And Magic has ties with Dungeons and Dragons, right? And who knows? Maybe Marvel might do something with Dungeons and Dragons. That would be kind of crazy. If anybody knows me or talks to me, one of my favorite characters of all times comes from Dungeons and Dragons. His name is Driz Do'Urden, written by the Legend of Driz books, written by R.A. Salvatore. So, if anybody is interested in maybe me talking about some Dungeons and Dragons stuff or Legend of Driz stuff, let me know. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool that they're expanding like this. I wish other card games, Wink Wink Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe might have did something like this. I think that would give, net them a lot of money. But Konami's very isolated and really keep to themselves, Konami, to be honest. Um, the next thing that I want to talk about is it looks like Nintendo will be delisting a Switch Online game for the first time, but only in one region, that region being Japan. It is going to be, it's not a super huge game, at least not one that I want to know. It's going to be Super Soccer. Now, why do I point this out, right? Even though it's like some soccer game from so long ago, and it's a retro game. I point this out because of game preservation, right? If anybody knows, I want to shout out, this article is written by Stephen T. Wright. This is also another GameSpot article. Um, it might be a small thing to be removing one game, even if it is just from Japan and not North America or Europe. But this goes back to great game preservation as a whole, right? And how Nintendo has been very heavy-handed in removing emulator and emulation sites, right? From being able to, provide games to other people. And which kind of sucks, right? For game preservation as a whole. Like this one little thing shows that at any moment they could remove a game from their Nintendo Switch Online library, and you won't have and if they want, you won't have access to that anymore because a lot of emulation sites are being shut down by Nintendo, especially. They've gone after a slew of them. I think there was a couple of years back where they were just suing everybody, and everybody had to take down their games. It was kind of crazy, and most of their games aren't even available anywhere outside of their own consoles. I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, they went after Yuzu, which was the Switch emulator, from running 60 FPS Legend of Zelda. And then I want to say a couple of years prior to that, they went after all the emulation sites. It's very scary when like I said, when you think about game preservation and the fact that a lot of these games can be lost, and especially if you want to get physical copies of them, it's very hard to find physical copies of a lot of these games at affordable prices, especially well-known old Nintendo games. And let's think about Nintendo games now. They very rarely go on sale as it is now. So, you know, it also makes me think of comments that Steam and Valve made back in the day. As much as I love Steam and Valve, I can't remember the article. I'll try to find it, but they made a comment about that you don't really own the games you buy. So it's like, and then everything's moving towards digital, and them making comments like that, it's like, it sucks, because it's like, damn, I can't even hold on to the games that I purchased with my hard-earned money all the time. Think about this: an hour in your life is equal to whatever your employer pays you, right? That money you use to purchase the things you need and the things you want, right? They're essentially saying that your time doesn't get you anything that you want. It allows you to use the things you want, but you don't get to keep the things you want, which I think is kind of spitting on the face of your own time, right? It's a really deeper conversation to have, but this one Super Soccer SNES game being removed, even if it is only Japan, is scary when you think about it, because at any moment, Nintendo could remove any other games, and they're the first people to shut down your content, right? Or to shut down your website, or to sue somebody if you're making a fan-made game, or you have emulation of their games anyway. So it's just something to think about, and it's something scary as we move towards the new digital age and information age. Well, we're already in the information age, right? But as we move towards this digital age where physical copies seem to be going away, where GameStops, I said spots, 2 articles from GameStop seem to be shutting down everywhere. I had one by where I live, and they completely shut down now. There's no GameStop by where I live. I wonder if there's still the one on Zariga and Parkchester, but even those are going away. I remember as a kid, I always wanted to work there, and I never got called back or a job there. Yeah, they're lost. And look, maybe it was for a blessing. Look what's happening. But yeah, it's just something to think about. Now to get on to the next thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds and its optimization. So this is over on MSN.com that I found this. And I picked this particular article because there were a few other articles, but this article in particular I picked because of the funny comment that was left. It says, and I quote, by this is a story first and foremost by Tyler Cope over on MSN. I think it's being pulled from Polygon, as you see up here, but it says, my air fryer is more optimized than this. Monster Hunter Wild players are suffering from performance issues. So it looks like, if you see here, this looks like what some of the models, kind of N64-ish, bad news. It runs like garbage, especially on PC. I guess even if you have a higher end PC, you're getting really bad performance out of the game. And I quote, it's so bad that for some players, the graphics have reverted to 1996. Reddit user Impressive Cry 3448, Impressive Cry 3448, posted on screenshots of blurry polygonal characters who look like they came from a Nintendo 64 game. Many of the graphical issues that were present during the beta playtest are still present in the final game, and players aren't happy about it. That is pretty horrible. I can actually speak from experience on this. Me and a couple of my buddies went to Comic-Con this past year, and we actually got to play the game. And not only was the line long just to play it early, it was not a fun experience. Everything seemed slow and sluggish, and it sucks to see that even after play testing it during that time and then coming down to the when the game is released and it's still running like this, it's pretty bad. Look, quote, my air fryer is more optimized than this, quote, wrote Steam user water bottle. That's a great name, by the way. I need some water after this. But yeah, very interesting. Um, you know, it sucks that to hear this from a game like this. I know Monster Hunter is a beloved series by a lot of people. I got a buddy who absolutely hates it, and I love trolling him about that in Persona, but that's another story. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds is just a sad case of just poor optimizing, and it sucks because Capcom was on a roll for a while, especially when they were doing the Resident Evil remakes. They were just hitting greatness after greatness, and I don't know why this game turned. It was the same thing with Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma, uh, is one of the reasons why I didn't finish it. Dragon's Dogma, the second one, because of the how the game just doesn't feel good to play, and it sucks. I'd rather go back to Elden Ring than play that. Um, so I mean, I don't know. It's sad. Sad. I really want to see Capcom succeed. Capcom, give me a new Mega Man game, please. For the love of everything that I hold dear, can I get a new Mega Man game? Jeez Louise, Mega Man, or even, you know what? We had Devil May Cry. Give me a new Mega Man game. If you want to give me a Devil May Cry game, I want to remake a Devil May Cry 1. But give me a new Mega Man game, man. Please, give me a Mega Man game. I love the collections. I have all of them except for the Mega Man Zero collections. But please, give me a new Mega Man game. Come on. It sucks because to me, I felt like Capcom really went heavy into the fighting game market. But to me, Mega Man is the face of Capcom to me, and Capcom has many great titles, Resident Evil, Mega Man, Street Fighter, Dino Crisis, Breath of Fire, a slew of great titles, God Hand, just a lot of them. And it sucks to me that Mega Man, who I consider that mascot, got put on the back burner for Street Fighter and company. So it's just sad. I want Mega Man to be back on the forefront. But that's neither here nor there because that's a whole nother topic. We were talking about Monster Hunter Wilds and it's poor. Hopefully they patch that game, Monster Hunter Wilds, to get back on topic, and they fix the frame rates and the crappy polygons because I have a pretty high-end PC, and I would hate to. I've never been a Monster Hunter guy. I wanted to get Monster Hunter World, but I would hate to go in and buy Monster Hunter Wilds if any of my friends want to play and they ask me to play, and then it runs like dog water. Because we played it at I played it at, like I said, I played it at not Capcom. I played it at Comic Con with a few of my friends, and it didn't run that great. And that was a while ago. I was back in October. So with it releasing like dog water, it just sucks. Okay. Now the moment I think most people have been waiting for. The fact or fiction segment. Was the story real or not? It's time to find out. Yes. If you put fact in the comment box for the last video, you were correct. It was a fact. So, Fred Rogers was beaten with a hammer and wife Edwina was killed with a single gunshot to the head. They were dismembered and they were stuffed in their own refrigerator. And the only suspect who disappeared and was never found was their son. I'm going to link the article in the description, but this was a true story. And the son was never found. I actually think there's a documentary on this if you want to check it out, but I don't want to go too in details about the story because it's pretty graphic and pretty gruesome. But it was a true story. Kind of scary, right? I'm going to work on next week's pod finding another story for fact or fiction, but if you enjoyed that segment, let me know and I'll continue to do it that way and give you guys a week. I was gonna do it bi-weekly, give you a story and you gotta tell me if it's real or not. I don't want to call it fact or fiction because there was a show on that, but maybe, I don't know. I'll think of a name, but like I said, you got to tell me if it's a real story or not. But this one was real. Charles Rogers did disappear that night. He did. He is the leading suspect in killing his parents. And this did happen in Boston. I mean, not Boston, my apologies. In Texas. Years ago. In 1965. And that brings us to the end of the pod. Like I said, if you enjoyed everything, like, share, and subscribe. You know, all of it is appreciated. And I do, again, I want to apologize for the delay in the video. Hopefully next week's won't be delayed, and I'll have another story for you guys. You guys let me know in the comments if you like having the suspense of waiting a week, or you rather the answer right away. But that's it for autosave. Like I always tell you guys, you don't have to save it. You don't need a memory card, because guess what? I'm gonna save it for you here and now. Just make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Later, everybody.